Hello! I finally finished an entire sketchbook, hooray! I'm going to show it to you today, but first things first, it's looking very scuffed and miserable, so I thought I might decorate it on the outside, and then I will show you what's on the inside. So let's get into it. Okay, I'm going with a few paint pens today, and I've picked a bit of a colour scheme. I'll just swatch them out on here so you can see what colours I've got. Kind of a coffee brown, and a few different greenish blues. That's a really pretty dark aqua, and a light aqua. I love that colour, that's so pretty. And a green, very lime green, and then just a nice creamy kind of colour there. So I was going to do a complicated drawing, but I'm a bit tired, to be honest, with all of those coloured pencil things I've been doing lately. I'm just feeling a little bit exhausted, and I just thought it would be more fun to do something slightly more abstract. And so I'm going to get some washi tape. This is the thinnest tape I can find in the house, and I'm going to stick it all over the entire cover from front to back, and then I'm going to colour in the shapes. So that's going to be my design today. Let me just tape all of this up and then I'll get colouring. That's it stuck together. I've no idea how I'm going to colour this. I'm just going to get these pens and randomly choose different colours and different little segments to do it, so let's see how it comes out. I imagine I'll need a couple of layers here because this stuff is going to go in, and I have not painted it with gesso or anything, so I'm just going to go straight in with the pens and do a couple of layers. It is. Now for the best and most satisfying part, peeling the tape off. Oh, I've been looking forward to this. That didn't work quite as prettily as I was hoping. Oh dear. There's a few messy ones there. I might see if I can fix this up a bit. I do love the lines though. I think the design is really cool. It's just a bit poorly executed in places, so I'm going to fix it up as well as I can. Well, I think I just made that worse. That is not an improvement at all. Never mind, I'm going to leave it for now, and if you have any suggestions on how I could make this look better, please let me know in the comments, and I might revisit this at a later time, but I think I'm just going to leave well enough alone. I don't hate it, but it's pretty wobbly because the fabric is so textured. It's more of a canvas than anything else. Alright, I'm going to flip through this book and we can see what delights are inside. There's some pretty embarrassing artwork in here, but I'm going to show everything. So let's take a tour of my sketchbook and I'll flip through all the pages and give a bit of a commentary on what I did. Okay, so inside the front cover is some toned paper, and I thought this would be fun to do some hand drawings on and just get a bit of practice in, so I just used some photo references and drew these, added a bit of white pencil, and that's graphite, and I used some fixative to spray everything and just make sure that the graphite doesn't smudge all over the place. And then going in here, I painted a gouache cupcake on this side, and I just made a little title page over here. This was actually the last page I did because I couldn't think of anything to put here when I first started the sketchbook, and I ended up just doing a small title page. Forgot that part of the paint was wet, and of course it's gone over here, but never mind, I'm not too worried about that. So I just did some swatching with my Coloursoft pencils. I found a set that was on super sale and I just tested them out in here. This is the one painting I've done with the golden open acrylic paints, and I really need to do some more. Just a little penguin holding its egg. And then flipping over to the next page. A pelican. I did this in watercolours and ink. This one's a sailfin lizard, I'm pretty sure. And I did this with Caran d'Ache Luminance pencils, I think, and a bit of a watercolour background. I've actually got a video on this one which I did last year sometime, so I'll see if I can link that in the description or somewhere. Next, I've got just some playing around with watercolour paints. I taped this page, but I just went straight on with this, so I just added layers and layers, and you could see it's kind of all gone everywhere. This is mixed media paper, not watercolour paper, but it held up really well actually, and there's only minimal amount of buckling in this, as you can see. So this paper was really good for anything that I tried, and I used a lot of water on this. I actually quite liked the effect it created. This was just from the water creating those backwashes that you get on non-cotton paper. This is a cellulose paper. And then I just went over it with some black ink. This is just a doodle and made a bit of a shooting star. These are just little inky doodles that I drew over the top of different watercolour backgrounds, so that was fun and easy to do. Oh yes, this one's done with Caran d'Ache Neo colours. I have a small tin as well as the large tin. I was just basically doodling lines with a pen, and then I coloured in the different sections, and I ended up with this rather abstract piece, but this was fun to do. I made a mess of this page, so I glued some pretty papers over the top, and then I used some of that yellow, or greenish yellow, to go over here just to tie the two together. And then I think I added some other colours around there, probably watercolours or something. So sometimes if you make a mistake on a page, just glue something over the top. That works perfectly. Next page. Oh yeah, I had a little bit of paper left over, so I glued the butterfly on there. And I was just sitting outside, and so I just did a really quick pen drawing of some silver beet that was in my garden, and that was just a little flower that was growing next to it, so nothing super exciting there, just little sketches and doodles. This I drew while I was out at a local park. I just did it really quickly with pen, and then I went over everything with watercolour. I only had a few supplies with me, so it's a bit of a mess, but it was nice. I enjoyed getting out. It's one of the few times I actually got out last year, kind of in between two lockdowns, so yeah, that was a nice day. These are with felt pens that I had. I just started doodling, and you can see I made one mistake there. I don't know what I did there, but I coloured it the wrong colour. I decided to leave that little piece just because it makes it interesting. But these were just some pens, actually brush pens I got from Aldi, if I remember correctly, and I just started drawing, and it ended up as this 2-page spread of kind of a retro style pattern. This one I drew in a black coloured pencil, I think. And then the background, I think, is actually a few layers of coloured pencil that I then used odorless mineral spirits on. and it was just a Pinterest reference, I think. This one was another Pinterest reference, and it was around the time that we were starting to have to wear masks and people were carrying on, so yeah, just wear the damn mask. But I thought I'd do a steampunk one, so that's what that was, and I used Mermaid Markers by Jane Davenport for this, because they are so vibrant. I will have to get the mermaid markers out one day because they are really fun to use. I'd forgotten about them and I saw the pot and thought I'd do some in my sketchbook just to remind myself how they work. This is when I got the Schminke limited edition watercolour tin, so I drew that and swatched it, and then I did some little mini jellyfish using all of the colours, or most of the colours in this set. I didn't use those two. I think I started from the magenta and worked my way down, just going on that. So that's just a little colourful page there. Alright, what's next? I've forgotten half of what's in here. Oh yes, more colourful pen drawings. I think these were the mermaid markers as well, and then it was just like a Zentangle thing and it ended up being a beach ball. This was a statue I'd seen on Pinterest, so I drew it and then I decided the background was really boring, so I just used a felt pen to colour it in. It looks a bit sketchy, but I decided to leave it because I actually quite like the texture of it, and I ended up drawing a really thick black line around it to make it stand out from the background. So that's what that one was. Oh, just random doodles. These were nothing in particular. I was just sitting watching TV and just drawing. I made these pictures up. I think I might have used somewhat of a reference for this, and I've got something stuck on there. But otherwise, I mean, I just really made up the colours, and yeah, I'm not very good at drawing houses, so I think I was just trying to experiment and see if I could come up with something. I do quite like this page spread, it's very colourful. Oh yes, this was a bit of a disaster, but I just left it here. Just a random pattern. It's completely skewed and it is not anything particularly great. If you remember, I did a video using my Traveller's Company brass pen. I drew this and I left it uncoloured. I decided I was going to add some colour with some watercolour paints, and it made the ink run even more, so it's a bit of a hot mess, but I just left it as that. Over here, oh yes, just another sketch while I was sitting outside on a sunny day in winter. Just some of the camellias that had started to come out, and this was just made up out of my head. Nothing in particular, just started off with a light wash and then gradually worked my way up to a darker wash. So this is kind of one of those layering ones, but I just thought it looked a bit dull, so I used a bit of white pen just to bring it out, and yeah, it ended up as this design. This is totally skewed, so it's not something that I taped down or anything. Just another page I was drawing while watching TV. Quite often when I just feel like making some art, but I don't feel like using a reference or really thinking, I'll just doodle designs and then add colours. I was just having fun painting these really gorgeous bright colours in, and I think that looks really pretty. This was on another walk we did during lockdown. Actually, I think I took this photo and then brought it home because we couldn't really be out there for very long. Ibis Island, I call it, where all the local ibises go to breed around the time of year that we were there. It's a black pen, bit of watercolour and some white ink over the top. Mr. Peacock's head got a bit funny there. Never mind. I don't know what happened here either. I was testing something out and I think that black is actually transferred from this page. Joy! That's the trouble with sketchbooks, and you don't put protection in between. Oh well. This was something I just saw off Pinterest, I think, and I just drew it. It's just a inky thing that I did. And going over the next page, more doodles, but I added in some pretty, I think this is core paint, and that is their cobalt teal colour. It is so pretty, it's so granulating, and I actually had drawn all this and painted it, and then I decided to paint the background in, which I'm glad I did because I really like this page. This one is just another one I saw off Pixabay, I think, and I just thought it was cool, so I used some ink. It's very thickly put on around here, and that's watercolour. Silhouette paintings are so much fun to do when you can't think of something any more complicated, like, because you can add something really pretty and bright and then add the black over the top, so it's not difficult. It's a really fun thing to do, and I might do a tutorial on something like this one day because I really enjoy doing them. It's very relaxing and you end up with a pretty cool picture after. Oh yeah, that was the presidential debate. But yes, you can probably guess who these two guys are. I was just sitting there drawing. It's nothing meant to be a particular likeness, but I think I kind of got a little bit here. Yeah. And these ones, I was trying to cartoonize my cats, and Gandalf is so bad. I just can't get over the face on it. Every time I open this page, that just cracks me up. It's so funny. Trixie was leaning on a window, and so her body just looks so skewed here, but she was trying to clean her paw, and yeah, it's just such a weird picture. But I left them in there because they make me laugh every time I open this page. Especially that. I mean, look at his face. I don't know what I was doing there. Hilarious. I went with something slightly more realistic over on this side. This was a horse off Pixabay, I think, and I used some coloured pencils and a bit of watercolour paint in the background. His snout could be a little bit longer, actually, but whatever. And that was just a random tree. I'm hopeless at drawing trees, I really am. But it kind of came out okay, and I tried to match the colours so at least it's sort of kind of cohesive. This was kind of an abstract piece I did from our garden. This was into spring when all the roses were blooming, so I actually took a few different photos, and then I just took elements from those photos, and then I added in some random backgrounds, splashing colours everywhere. I really enjoyed painting this. It was a lot of fun, and this is one of my favourite page spreads in here just because it's so colourful. I really like these two lavender. I think they turned out really well. This was another sketch I did not far from where I live, up in the hills. It's a bit shoddy, but I'm not very good at drawing plein air sketches. I didn't even write where it is or anything, but yeah, it's in there. Okay, this one, I was out at my dad's and I was using his Inktense pencils, and it was just a random thing. I was in a dragony kind of mood that day, so I drew that one, and then I used my paint pens to draw here. This book does not like paint pens very much. It started peeling up very quickly, but the gold's quite pretty. I made a bit of a mess there. I think I dropped my pen or something and made it a line, and so I tried to cover it up, but that's just another watercolour with black ink over the top. Just a little silly doodle. These are just some swatches, the Deravan watercolours that someone sent me, and the extra light fast pencils that I got on top of the set that I already had. This makes up 100 pencils, and I just thought I'd swatch them in here because I had this page, so I figured I'd have that page too. Some cats that I found off Pixabay. I was just trying to do a minimal style, just focus on their eyes and their little noses, and then just sort of blend their fur out into the background. I quite like this page. It turned out a bit better than this one. The black lines just make it look so funny. It's much more realistic. I like this one better. And then I've got, I was going to say a camel. A giraffe and another horsey. I really like how the background turned out on this one. I just slopped down so much colour, and I think these might be Sennelier paints, but yeah, they were really vibrant. And I think I did a bit of sketching on here as well to add a bit of a pencil effect. This I did in just a plain ink pen, and then I just used a watercolour background. I think this is Sennelier as well, and that is the Payne's Grey. Oh yes, I forgot that the paint pens made a bit of a mess of the book, and I did another one with pens. I don't know if you could see that it's pilling everywhere. And of course, once I started, I just went, oh well, I'm just going to keep going. So yes, it's mixed media paper, but it does not like paint pens. And this was a watercolour sketch with a bit of pen and some white pen on there. Oh, and I drew a ladybird. That is coloured pencil here, and then I just did a watercolour background because it's so much faster. And I was at my dad's again, so I was just drawing his pot plant that was in the living room. A begonia. There you go. Oh my god, I forgot about this one. I'm sorry, it makes me laugh every time I see it. I was trying to just do kind of a cartoon version of Master's portrait. I was just going, what the hell is this? It's supposed to be the girl with the pearl earring. It looks so hilariously bad. Oh my gosh. I think I was playing around with gouache, and it really needs another layer. But there was a point there where I was just going to actually cover this whole thing, but then when I looked at it later, it just made me burst out laughing again, and so I thought, you know what, if something makes me laugh, I'm keeping it. I'm just gonna cover that piece for a minute. I like the bee on the daisy, and it's like every time I open it I want to look at this, but this picture just keeps drawing my eye. I'm so embarrassed by that one, but I just had to leave it in here because I'm showing everything in this book, whether it's good or bad. So good and not so good. Alright, okay, finally something that looks a bit more like it's supposed to. A black cockatoo in coloured pencil, and then I just added a really light wash of watercolour over the top of it, even though watercolour doesn't really sit on coloured pencil, and then I just splashed some watercolour in the background. Kind of did a matching one over here and just painted this pretty flower. These are pictures on Pixabay, I think. At this point in my book I was kind of just wanting to finish it, and I just couldn't think of anything to draw, so I figured I might as well just look at reference pictures and use those. And this is the last page spread. I don't know, I just felt like drawing a mushroom house. It's a bit basic. Then I did this zebra, just practicing using some different coloured ink pens. I think these were Faber-Castell Pet pens, those Munger brush pens. I've got a set of those. Then I dug them out and just drew some shadows in. I kind of like this one, it was a bit of fun. I might revisit this and do another much larger version of it. That eye is kind of creeping me out though. And then I couldn't think of anything to put here, so I just put finish, and it was the 11th of February 2021 that I technically finished this last page, but then I spent a couple more days just adding more things in here. This is watercolour paints and ink. I didn't know what to put here, so I just drew a flower. And then I just doodled this on the back cover. There was some black paint on here, and so I just drew over the top of it to hide it and ended up with this little design. And that is my book. So I hope you enjoyed looking through my sketchbook. I had a lot of fun with this one. I really enjoyed this book, and I would so get another one. It's a Clairefontaine Gold Line mixed media journal, and they come in all different sizes. I would definitely get this size again. I enjoyed this. I would recommend it as a great sketchbook. It's a really nice size. I think it's an 8x8 inch. If I'm not mistaken, it might be 10x10. This took me roughly around a year. I think it was actually February 2020 that I got this book and started it. So yeah, it took me a year. I'm actually pleased that I finished one. Now I'm looking at the cover. I don't hate it as much as I did a bit earlier. It doesn't look too bad, just don't look too closely at the little flaws in it, but it looks much better than it did before when it was just all scuffed in one colour. Thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it today. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up if you did, and click the subscribe button, and I will see you all again in my next video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Swatch you later. Bye!